One more day. One more day of the best game on earth coming to you live from Sydney as we close out the 2015-2016 Pro Tour season. Welcome wherever you are. If you're bleary-eyed in the middle of the night in Europe, if you're prime-time East Coast USA, or if you're just down the road watching in Australia and around the Asia-Pacific region, welcome wherever you are in the world to our coverage live from Sydney of the top 8 of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. Rich Hagan, your host, alongside the Pro Tour historian, Mr. Brian David Marshall, and from inside Wizards of the Coast, inside R&D, Ian Duke. Welcome along to both of you gentlemen. BDM, let's start with you. A terrific first 2 days that have led us with multiple storylines to an awesome top 8.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know where to, I do know where to start. I mean, it's Owen Turtenwald having just this unbelievable start to the tournament, a rocky, almost, penultimate part of the tournament, and then ultimately a triumphant final round in the Swiss, and then with so many titles that people were calling him the mother of dragons last night on Twitter.
Oh, wow, that's a good one. Now, Ian, from your perspective, obviously we're going to talk a ton about these 8 amazing players, but you have to be very pleased with your 205 amazing cards that came in with Eldritch Moon.
Absolutely. We've seen, this is hands down Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. We've seen so many of the new cards impacting how people are building decks. We've seen the spotlight on story characters, Liliana, Tamio, Emrakul is definitely the talk of the tournament, so it's just been fantastic from an R&D perspective.
Okay, so this is how it's going to work. We're going to show you 2 quarterfinals back-to-back. They're going to be sort of bouncing between the 2. You'll see every match decided. It's best 3 out of 5. The first 2 games are without sideboard. Then they get to sideboard for the last 3 in any configuration they want. Then we'll show you quarterfinals 3 and 4. After lunch, it'll be the first semi-final on its own, then the second semi-final, and then, of course, you will see every turn of the best 3 out of 5 final. Let's take a look at a bracket for the first time. Let's show you the 8 players that are here and battling for the title of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon champion. Sam Pardee is up against Andrew Brown. Lucas Blahon is against Ken Yukihiro. That's quarterfinals 3 and 4. But we are going to begin our coverage at the bottom half of the bracket, and one of the clashes for the ages 3 out of 5 coming your way. It is Luis Scott-Vargas against Reid Duke. So let's take a look at Luis Scott-Vargas. He is in the Hall of Fame. Of course he is. He's been there forever, it seems. 33 now, closing in on 500 lifetime pro points, over $300,000 lifetime earnings. This is his 8th Pro Tour top 8, and it is 3 in a row this season. Last time that was done, 18 years ago. John Finkel. Ridiculous. What deck is he playing? Let's take a look. He is playing Bant Company. Brian David Marshall, what is this Bant Company thing all about?
This is really a creature tempo deck that can sort of shift very easily to a control deck thanks to cards like Spell Queller and Reflector Mage, and is just this deck that is very adept at switching between roles within the game, and then after sideboard even switching based on matchup. So we talked to the Channel Fireball Ultra Pro team before this Pro Tour. We talked to, this was the dominant deck in the Open Series in the weeks leading up to this tournament, and it was on everyone's mind, right? Everyone was making their deck decisions based on how their deck fared against Bant Company.
So in that sense, Ian, and I don't mean control in the sense of aggro versus control, Bant Company is the control in the experiment that is the metagame.
Yeah, totally agree. It's the control group in a scientific experiment, right? So everyone else has that baseline, and they're all trying to attack it.
All right, so that's Luis Scott-Vargas. Now, Ian has quite an interest in his opponent this morning because it is Ian's brother, Reid Duke. Let's take a look at his fantastic career. At 26, closing in on $200,000 lifetime earnings. He'll go potentially past that today. Will go past the 300 pro point mark as well. 18 Grand Prix top 8s. Second Pro Tour top 8 here. Of course, he was second at the World Championship a few years ago behind Shahar Shenhar, and a Magic Online champion in 2011. Really made a fantastically successful career transition from Magic Online into Paper Magic, as we call it. So that is Reid. What is he bringing to battle with? Let's take a look at his deck. It is red, green, Delirium Ramp. Ian, what's going on here?
So Reid tested with Team Pantheon here, and one of the things they realized in their testing was that Emrakul was where they wanted to be. So their team actually has 3 different flavors of Emrakul decks and 3 different ways of sort of getting Emrakul into play. One is the Delirium deck, which gets lots of cards in the graveyard. The other is sort of an emerge strategy that's kind of disrupting the opponent and eventually topping out with Emrakul. Reid's version is trying to ramp into Emrakul as fast as possible. So it's sort of a classic red-green ramp deck with Emrakul being the top end there. And he's described it as the deck with the most powerful endgame in the environment right now.
So in terms of the way the games are going to play out in this one, BDM, in theory, Bant Company was well positioned because of its ability to grind late. But what Reid's saying there is that the later it gets, the better it is for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw these two players play down the stretch of day 2, and there was a pretty amazing match that, it did not seem like Luis Scott-Vargas could win. Reflector Maging and Emrakul was a big part of it. And we talked about sideboards. Tamio, field researcher, a huge card out of Luis's sideboard in this deck, because you really want to keep that Emrakul. Once it's in play, if you somehow survive, you really want to keep it tapped down.
So that is our first quarterfinal, and running at the same time in the same feature match area will be quarterfinal 2. Let's take a look at our bracket once again. Reminder, there's Yuta Takahashi for you. He is our first player. There's the bracket. Takahashi playing Bant Company up against Owen Turtenwald with Teamer Emerge. Later on, you'll see Pardy against Brown and Blahon against Yukihiro. But we got a glimpse there. Let's take a look at Yuta Takahashi. There he is, the 30-year-old, one of the Haruyuya pros, known as the King of the Fairies, those Grand Prix, Kobe 2008 and Shizuoka 2008, Bitter Blossom, absolutely central to his plan there. This is his second Pro Tour top 8, and he will go past the 250 lifetime pro points mark at this tournament. What is he playing? Well, Brian David Marshall, oh look, it's Bant Company. So Bant Company, it's overperformed. 20% of the field, 25% of the top 8. It's clearly the dominant deck in Standard.
It was very funny. Again, just talking to people, it was like they would, there were people who were testing this deck. They would play the role of the Bant Company player in their testing house, and they would play it, and they would play it, and they would play it, and they're like, well, I'm just winning a lot. I might as well. I know how to play this deck really well. Maybe some other people who were playing all the different decks didn't have as much experience as them. Maybe they chose to beat it. They were playing the beat it side. But if you were on the join 'em team, if you were playing that role in the house, I think a lot of people came to the conclusion that this was a deck that they wanted to play.
All right, so that's Yuta Takahashi with Bant Company. Who is standing in his way? Well, it is the new player of the year. Here is Owen Turtenwald, age 27, 227,000 US dollars, way over 400 lifetime pro points. He could breach 450 at this PT. 4 Pro Tour top 8s. He is a double player of the year. In 2011, he watched on the sidelines as players who could have overtaken him didn't. This year, he got the job done by turning things sideways and winning the crown for himself. A phenomenal achievement, just redefining what professional Magic means in this modern age. A phenomenal player. But he's got a really tough opponent. What is his deck? It is Teamer Emerge. There is the list. Ian, what's going on with Teamer Emerge?
So this is another Team Pantheon brew here. It's also an Emrakul deck, but it's quite a bit different from Reid's that we saw earlier. Owen is also getting cards in the graveyard with Delirium enablers like Grapple with the Past and Vessel of Nascency, eventually trying to get up to Emrakul. But in the meantime, he has a very powerful Emerge package with Kozilek's Return and Elder Deep Fiend. Kozilek's Return being an excellent card against Bant Company, and Elder Deep Fiend just giving him a lot of flexibility to control the mid-game until he can get up to that Emrakul.
All right, so Owen Turtenwald against Yuta Takahashi, but we begin with a clash of US Titans. It's Reid Duke against Luis Scott-Vargas. It's time for the quarterfinals of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the quarterfinals of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. I'm Gabby Sparks, joined today by Pro Tour Hall of Famer Randy Buehler. How are you today, Randy?
I'm good. Looking forward to this match.
And we're all excited about an amazing quarterfinals that we have set up here. The players are ready to go, so let's head down to the feature match. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the quarterfinals of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. I'm Gabby Sparts, joined here today by Randy Buehler, and we are getting ready to play the quarterfinals. On the left, Luis Scott-Vargas, Hall of Famer. This is his 8th PT Top 8, 3rd consecutive one. Looking to run another one back here.
He's just one of the best of all time, without question.
Absolutely. He will be playing a band company today. And on the right, we have Reid Duke, 2nd PT Top 8. Magic Online champion. Look at them. They're good friends. They're having a nice little banter here before they get started. He's playing Red-Green Delirium Ramp today, and we'll see who moves on to the semifinals.
Yeah, I feel like Luis
Looks like our players are underway.
I feel like Luis fought Emrakul to about a draw yesterday. He was able to beat Emrakul sometimes, was able to did not beat him all the time, or beat her all the time. Going to be interesting. This is really the matchup that I feel like this whole Pro Tour boils down to. Reid, among a lot of other players, set out to beat Band Company, and now the biggest stage is here. Can you actually beat Band Company in the hands of Luis Scott-Vargas with a spot in the semifinals on the line?
It seems like from talking to the players, that is what Luis wants to do in this matchup. He wants to go fast. It's something that the news desk did mention a little bit earlier. But it seems very difficult for Luis to come back once Reid is able to ramp into Emrakul and start wreaking havoc. So
yeah, I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Luis has to be, he's the beatdown in this matchup. He has to play a tempo game. He has to get through all the damage he possibly can as quickly as he can, because Reid's end game is so much better than anything Luis can muster. That Luis just can't let him get there.
So Luis is off to a relatively fast start here. He's gone Duskwatch Recruiter into Krallenhorde Howler and playing a Selfless Spirit here. Reid is cracking the Vessel of Nicency, choosing what he wants to buy back from the graveyard.
Hedron Archive.
Yeah, so he chooses to take Hedron Archive here. A Shrine of the Forsaken Gods and a Forest are the lands for Reid so far.
Apologize to those of you watching. If you can't see the live total graphics, we'll try to do a little radio play-by-play for you. Make sure we keep that info up to date.
So it looks like a Reflector Mage is a draw for Luis, so there are no creatures that he could potentially bounce here from Reid. A couple of Reflector Mages, a Spell Queller in hand, and a Dromoka's Command. Dromoka's Command looking a little embarrassing pre-board here. And our players are playing 2 games pre-board and before they go on to sideboard. So the sideboards will matter a lot, but the pre-board game where Luis wants to be aggressive are the games where he's going to have to try to go very fast.
Yeah, Reid down to 12 after that last attack from Luis. And yeah, I know in talking to Luis about Band Company, he felt like a lot of the people who thought they could beat Band Company were mostly testing game 1s. And that if you look, what happens after sideboarding when you get to take the Dromoka's Commands out of your deck and put more relevant cards in against, the anti-Band Company decks. Cards like, it's funny, at the beginning of the tournament, he kept using Negate as an example of one of these cards. He's only actually got 1 Negate in his sideboard. For Luis, it's been Tameo as the super relevant sideboard card that he brings in for the Dromoka's Commands in some of these, against these decks with the great top end.
We saw it be amazing yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
It locked a game for him where it looked like there was no possible way that he could win. It was extremely flavorful.
Tameo beating up Emrakul, right?
And we'll see how good it is for him here in the quarterfinals. You can see Reid down to 12 here. Looks like Spell Queller coming down for Luis.
Kozilek's return.
And Kozilek's return from Reid.
Yeah, it's just going to
Looks
get
like
the
Selfless Spirit. Yeah, so Selfless Spirit is going to sacrifice there. Take 1 for the team. The Krallenhorde Howler flips back to Duskwatch Recruiter here. Something to be concerned about is this Kozilek's return now being in the graveyard does mean that eventually it could come back and kill the team, and now Luis has no protection against it. All right, so Duskwatch Recruiter will transform. This will drop Reid down to 8.
Aha, Ishkana.
So an update from one of our back tables. It looks like Yuta Takahashi has taken game 1 against Owen Turtenwald.
Oh, wow. Sounds like Owen had trouble scrapped for lands. Couldn't find a 3rd land until Takahashi's board was just unbeatable.
All right, so Ishkana coming down for Reid Duke, and Delirium is online here, so in come all the baby spiders as well. And now Luis is going to have a tough time fighting through these spiders.
These are the crucial turns in this matchup. Reid's finally made a good blocker. Luis has to poke through these last 8 points of damage.
What a matchup, Randy. One of the biggest things I've seen on social media and people just discussing the matchup today. Luis and Reid are some of the most loved players there are.
It's
People
true.
are so conflicted about who to root for. It's very difficult. Right, so land for Luis. Reflector Mage bouncing back Ishkana.
It's 8 to 20, and you have two cards.
Seems like he might try to close out this game before
Oh, yeah.
Reid can recast it.
I mean, this is an attack for 6. Reid doesn't particularly want to go down to 2, but he doesn't have any great blocks either. I mean, he can chump. Reflector Mage's extra ability means Reid cannot replay Ishkana next turn.
And Luis has a couple of Reflector Mages in hand. So he will be able to continue bouncing some of these creatures. Looks like he still has one left, yeah. So both spiders going under the bus there. Preserving Reid's life total. He's still at 8. Over on the other hand, we have Reid with an Emrakul the Promised Land already in hand. Ulvenwald Hydra, which just came down on the battlefield.
Yeah,
World
not
Breaker.
good enough. Luis
Yeah.
shows him the Reflector Mage. Reid's going to make him go through the motions. Yeah, Luis revealed Reflector Mage to Reid, saying, look, you're dead. I've got you. But Reid doesn't really believe in conceding. He's going to go through the motions.
Reid likes going through the motions. That happened yesterday in feature match too. Here it is. So going through the motions, and that was a very quick game 1. And this is exactly what you were talking about, Randy. Luis wants to go fast in these pre-board games before he can have any meaningful way to fight against things like Emrakul. Wow. Very, very quick game.
That's 2 to the good for Band Company as well.
We will be back with more of the quarterfinals, but before, these messages.
Ready to take your game to the next level and start on the path to the Pro Tour? Rise to the challenge and test your skills at a local preliminary Pro Tour qualifier. To find an event near you, visit magic.wizards.com/pptq. Test drive the top standard decks from this Pro Tour in the Pro Tour Gauntlet, beginning this Wednesday on Magic Online. For more information, visit mtgo.com.
Hello and welcome back to coverage of the quarterfinals here at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. I'm Gabby Sparts, joined by Randy Buehler, and we'll be moving into one of our second matches here. We're taking a look at the quarterfinals right now. It's Reid versus Luis Scott-Vargas, but focusing right now on the match of Yuta Takahashi versus Owen Turtenwald.
Yeah, Yuta up a game. Owen couldn't find third land. And his deck in particular has to build up a big mana base. He has to get up to those big emerge creatures and ideally get all the way up to Emrakul if he's going to win this matchup.
So Owen off to a good start here. Narwhal Dryad is the quickest way he can get on the board. That said, what do you think he's trying to do in this matchup?
I think this plays similarly to the way Luis and Reid's matchup plays. Owen and Reid aren't on the same deck, but what they are on is they're both on Emrakul decks. They're both fundamentally trying to beat Bant Company by just having an insane late game and surviving to get there. Kozil Extra Turn is in both decks. Emrakul is in both decks. It's just kind of what else they're up to is where their decks part ways.
This looks pretty similar to how the other game started between Reid and Luis as well. So it looks like a Duskwatch Recruiter for Yuta, and then this is Pilgrimage for Owen.
Yeah, it doesn't look like our new player of the year is going to have mana problems this game. Straight to Nissa's Pilgrimage. 3 forests in hand now. Yuta Takahashi, the only player on stage right now who's not already invited to Worlds. We will see Owen, Reid, and Luis, no matter how today turns out. Yuta needs to make the final of this tournament.
With the finals, does he lock it in?
With the finals, he would get the Apex slot and knock out Ryoichi Tamada. So yeah, he needs a first or a second to qualify for Worlds.
All right, so Jace Friend's Prodigy as a follow-up for Yuta and a pass back to Owen. So let's see what he can piece together here. He's got an Emrakul the Promised Land already in hand and a couple of Pilgrim's Eyes.
Pilgrim's Eye works super well with Owen's Emerge plan. You get most of the value from the land, right? So now I've got a 3 converted mana cost creature that, yeah, it's not really worth 3 mana anymore. Feel pretty good about using that as your sacrifice for one of his big emerge threats.
And that's what it seemed like Owen was doing in a lot of his games yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed like he was very, very close to the edge, right? He was almost down. In many games, he was almost dead.
Right.
And then with the Kozilek's Return that he manages to put in the graveyard, he just comes back and takes over with Elder Deep Fiends.
Right.
Always very close to being dead, and then just his opponents can never come back.
It feels like either Kozilek's Return or Elder Deep Fiend is usually enough to stabilize, but the combo is how the deck really takes over.
All right, so a Tireless Tracker is discarded to that Jace. Forest is the lane for Utah. And once again, here we see how the Dromoka's Command's pre-board may be looking better in some other different in some different metagame, but against all these Emrakul decks, Dromoka's Command looks pretty bad. So Yuta has not played a spell here.
Yeah, he wants to flip
He
his
wants to
Duskwatch
flip
Recruiter.
the Duskwatch Recruiter. Let's see.
Owen hasn't decided if he's done with Yuta's end step yet.
He does have a Kozilek's Return in hand.
Yeah, and it is an instant.
Looks like he's going to go for it. Kozilek's Return.
Sure. He
Ouch.
gets the
There go
Recruiter
both
and the
the
Jace.
critters. Yeah, both critters come down.
Well, now he does know that he's opening up a window for Dromoka's Command, is I think why Owen was so hesitant here. Presumably, Yuta's going to use a +1/+1 counter from those Dromoka's Commands to save one of his creatures from the 2 damage.
Actually, he has 2 Dromoka's Commands in hand, so yeah, protecting his team at this point seems pretty good.
All right,
So
so saves the Recruiter, kills the Pilgrim's Eye.
In all fairness, though, like we mentioned earlier, Owen is interested in getting these Kozilek's Returns in the graveyard, so even though Yuta has dodged it this turn, it's just a matter of getting another big old Eldrazi before that triggers.
Oh, interesting. That all happened in Owen's upkeep. So that was with the Duskwatch Recruiter trigger on the stack.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so Vessel of Nascency is a play for Owen this turn.
Why is Jace alive? What did I miss?
He prevented damage from a red spell, and then he fought
Aha.
the...
There we go.
And he fought the Pilgrim's Eye.
Prevent all damage, target instant or sorcery would deal this turn.
Nice thing is that Owen does have another Pilgrim's Eye in hand and no emerge creature, so he doesn't really lose that much by losing that Pilgrim's Eye.
Yuta had multiple ways to foil the Kozilek's Return with that Dromoka's Command. It's funny, we were just talking about how 2 pre-sideboarded games seemed like a drawback for Bant Company, but Dromoka's Command worked out pretty well right there.
All right, so Jace. Considering a Jace loot here, Owen still with not a lot of action in his hand, though he is getting slowly and slowly closer to that Emrakul.
Yuta's got his one of Ojutai's Command in hand. That is quite a good card against the giant monsters Owen likes to play with.
This was an interesting thing from speaking to the players who brought Bant this weekend. Ojutai's Command is so good against all the decks that are trying to ramp into bigger things.
Right.
However, if you're trying to fight against the Bant Mirror, Ojutai's Command doesn't really do anything.
Right, and we didn't see a lot of Ojutai's Command this weekend. It's kind of snuck in as a one of in some decks. Luis does not have one. And like you say, if they knew this was the metagame, if they knew everybody was going to show up with Emrakul decks, you would have seen a lot more Ojutai's Command.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this metagame is, I don't know that a lot of people predicted that the metagame would play out quite the way it
All
did.
Emrakuls. Yeah, that's why a lot of players brought Avacyn, because Avacyn's fantastic in the mirror, but like
Right.
we only saw about 20% Bant Company decks and here at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, yeah.
And 25% in the top 8.
Yeah, and it almost feels like an upset that it even got 2 into the top 8. It got crushed on day 1.
Oh yeah.
That 19% dropped dramatically. Wasn't even the
So-
most played deck on day 2.
Owen finds the first Elder Deep Fiend here from cracking that Vessel of Nascency and continues to feel his graveyard as well. Duskwatch Recruiter will transform. And it looks like Chandra was the draw for Owen.
Elder Deep Fiend, one of 13 different Eldritch Moon cards appearing in main decks today. Pretty big number.
All right, so Ojutai's Command Gonna be countering that Emrakul. And this is where Owen's deck has so much resilience, because even though this first one is gone, he has so many ways to get back that Emrakul eventually. So even though Yuta here is in the clear, Owen's still being at 20 life and not facing a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, Yuta's done a good job of not dying, but he hasn't been able to build up the board. He's not attacking for damage. This seems like a perfectly good spot for Owen, even if he got his Emrakul countered. He's got 20 life points left, and he's already put 7 lands into play. His opponent's got 3 power against him.
Okay, that's fine.
Gotta like Owen's chances to even this up.
All right, so Yuta really has to start putting some pressure here on Owen if he wants to close out this game. Tireless Tracker is a draw for this turn. Owen's deciding how much he can wreck Yuta this turn.
Yeah, Emrakul's ability to control the opponent's turn is a cast trigger, so the fact that Yuta used a counter spell to stop the 13/13 flyer from coming into play does not get him control of this turn.
Interestingly enough, Yuta doesn't have that many lands this turn, so you can't cast that many spells. He will be able to attack some things into the Gnarlwood Dryad, like he can attack the Jace, for example.
Yeah.
So Owen writing down all the cards that Yuta has in hand currently. And now figuring out a plan for what he wants to do for Yuta's turn. Yeah, so he's going to attack that Jace. He's going to block with the Gnarlwood Dryad. It has Death Touch, so down goes that poor Jace.
Yeah, not much else.
Not much else that he can do here. Right, Reflector Mage is a draw for Yuta. He's got a grip full of cards, but not enough lands to deploy them all. So down comes that Tireless Tracker. Lumbering Falls is the landing. He gets another clue. Tireless Tracker a little bit cheaper because of the Krallenhort Howler. And a pass back to Owen here. Yes, it's Pilgrimage is the draw for Owen. So it looks like Owen's going to lead with a Pilgrim's Eye, getting another land out of his deck. And if you're Yuta here, you're sweating it because you already know once Owen is close enough, or once Owen has cast the first Emrakul, it's just a matter of time until the second one comes back. Land for Owen. He has an Elder Deep Fiend, so he will be able to lock up some of Yuta's. Yeah, so this is Yuta's upkeep. Owen's going to flash in that Elder Deep Fiend, sacrificing the Pilgrim's Eye. It served its purpose. And here comes the Kozilek's Return, which was cast earlier in the game.
Yeah, this one. And that one. Yeah.
So the return is triggered and on the stack. It is optional whether Owen's going to flash it back, but it's important to keep track of how the stack works.
Well, this is an interesting situation because Yuta has a choice here. If he wants to respond to the return, and he doesn't know if Owen is actually going to cast it or not.
Exactly.
So he's put in the situation where he has to act first. And because he has that, does he have a Dromoka's Command in hand? He does not.
All right. Yuta does not have any responses. Owen does flash back the Kozilek's Return. Then Elder Deep Fiend resolves and taps 4 lands.
So he did crack a clue, drew a card, Sylvan Advocate, and a pass back to Owen. And Owen is looking pretty good here now. Sitting on that Chandra Flamecaller and a couple of other creatures. And then the Elder Deep Fiend. It's a force to be reckoned here on this board. It's the biggest creature by a mile.
Sylvan Advocate's
Oh,
a
Sylvan
4 or
Advocate's
5.
actually at 6. Yeah, you're right. So I guess they can stare at each other for now. Chandra might have something to say about that.
Or the other Deep Fiend. Oh, just the one Deep Fiend. Sorry. Takahashi kind of looking around. I think he knows this game is probably lost. This is the stage where, with a Band Company deck in your hands, you're like,
You let it
all
go
right.
too long.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows. Owen is still at 17. Yuta has no board. Like there's an Eldrazi in play already. Like he's not actually dead, but he's pretty close.
So Gnarlwood Dryad coming down for Owen. Shivan Reef, and here comes 6 mana. He has to take some pain. There comes Chandra.
I'll do the 0. They don't. Yeah.
Right, so he's choosing to discard his hand. Discards Nissa's Pilgrimage to draw some more cards. Kozilek's Return is a draw. He's going to ship it back to Yuta here. All right, so Jace, Vryn's Prodigy is a draw, and attacking into this board is just, how is Yuta supposed to power through this?
Reflector Mages? If
A lot of them.
if he could play 2 Reflector Mages a turn for 3 or 4 turns, I think he would get there.
Here we see on the right, we can take a look at Chandra Flamecaller. It's definitely a nice inclusion for the ramp decks. Very good at clearing out the board when it needs to, and also presents a very quick clock when uncontested.
It's interesting to look at all the ways Owen sort of snuck in extra card types to make Emrakul cheaper. You know, he's got Chandra as a Planeswalker. He's got Corrupted Graphstone as a random artifact that can also accelerate him.
All right, so Yuta considering his options here. This turn is important. He needs to sequence. He needs to figure out how he wants to win this game. He needs to come up with a plan. How are you going to fight through these defenses? All right, so he's going to lead off with a Tireless Tracker. Maybe get some more value in getting some of these clues. He's going to go ahead and crack it immediately. Put that counter on the Tireless Tracker. And another Jace. Corruptive Graphstone is the draw here for Owen.
It's funny how people tend not to have a ton of practice with games like this, where you know your odds of winning are, maybe 10%. Because in playtesting, you probably just scoop this up and shuffle up and play another one. Actually sort of maximizing this last 10% chance. It's just kind of weird that you don't actually practice this scenario all that much.
Yeah, specifically when you're playtesting, you get to the situation, you're like, nope, pick him up. So Owen has chosen to draw a new hand here. He also got to discard a Kozilek's Return, which is a nice one to have in the graveyard. Looks like a grapple with a pass. That's going to buy back Emrakul.
True story.
Or he could just draw another Emrakul.
That works too.
All right, Emrakul the Promised End, and now this is Owen controlling Yuta's turn. Yuta still considering, oh God, what do I do here?
Also, a little funny that if this match was being played during the Swiss, Yuta would consider just conceding to not show Owen any more cards from his deck. But the deck lists are public now, so there's no information at stake. It's like, all right, let's play this out.
Yeah,
no reason not to. Okay, those 3 attack and die. I wasn't.
Those poor delirious creatures had no idea. Oh, Owen has chosen to cast the Reflector Mage, bouncing back his Emrakul.
That is spectacular.
That was great. And the players are just laughing at this point. That turn was absurd.
He's built his own Mindslaver recursion lock. Your Reflecting Mage will reset my Emrakul.
I need company.
I imagine that was a very accurate representation of what happens when regular creatures fight against Emrakul. They all just come into the team. It's a horrible attack. Yeah, that's going to do it. You've just seen enough. So players are even here 1-1. And we are moving back to our main match. Let's take a look at what's going on between Luis and Reid. So we have been holding these matches for you. We want to make sure that we show as much magic as possible here in the top 8 and quarterfinals and all the way through to the finals. So the players have been patiently waiting. And let's see what they bring on this game too.
Yeah, when last we checked in, Luis did manage to punch through 20 damage. Reflector Mage was great. But yeah, they have not played a game 2. This is now just the second game. You haven't missed anything.
All right, so Scott-Vargas, just to catch you up, is currently in the lead 1-0 versus Reid.
Still a pre-sideboarded game, relatively recent change to Pro Tour Sundays, but the best 3 out of 5 matches are now played with 2 games before sideboarding and 3 after.
So Evolving Wilds is the land for Luis, a Vessel of Nascency for Reid. Once again, this match, he wants to go a little fast and to make sure that he doesn't allow Reid to get all the way to Umrakul. Things get a little more interesting post-board. We'll be taking a look at that after when Game 3 starts. All right, this is a nice start for Luis. Duskwatch Recruiter on 2. Oh, but Fiery Impulse is going to take that the Duskwatch Recruiter down. Cracking that Vessel of Nascency for Reid. A couple of lands, a Hedron Archive, a Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, and a Game Trail. So Reid considering his options, sculpting a plan for the rest of the game. It looks like he's taking the Hedron Archive. A land for the turn and a pass back to Luis. Taking a look at Luis's hand. He's got a couple of good attackers here, some Sylvan Advocates. He is opting to pass this turn with mana up just to be able to counter something here. So he is going to counter that Nissa's Pilgrimage with that Spell Queller. A Tireless Tracker and a Collected Company in hand. So he's got a lot of raw power here. Spell Queller getting in there for 2. Tireless Tracker and a land. Drawing him a clue. Pass back to Reid. So Reid, considering his options here, a couple of Vessels in hand, Nissa's Pilgrimage and Hedron Archive. He's opted to play the Hedron Archive and pass it back to Luis. A second clue for him. In come both creatures. Choosing not to crack those clues. Not yet, at least, so the Tireless Tracker is still only 3 power. Looks like he has the option of playing a couple Sylvan Advocates or passing with Collected Company. He could also play a Selfless Spirit. He's worried about some way that Reid could remove some of his creatures. Kozilek's Return is something he's clearly thinking about since, you know, Reid has 3 of them in the main deck.
2 creatures is what he's decided on.
So Selfless Spirit and a Sylvan Advocate coming down for Luis, and this is going to provide him some insurance against Kozilek's Return. And Reid is pretty far behind here. What can he piece together now that Selfless Spirit is on the board? You know, Kozilek's Return is something that could have easily gotten back in the game, but now at 13 life and against this board, things are looking grim.
It's funny, Reid even had the Fiery Impulse for the first creature. Think how bad shape he'd be in if he hadn't had that.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's all he's had. That's basically all he's done to affect the board at this point.
If he had a Kozilek's Return the turn where Luis instead just, you know, the turn after he played the Spell Queller and the Tireless Tracker, that turn he would have been able to wipe out both creatures. He'd be in great shape, but...
Well, so I mean, Spell Queller's 3 toughness, so Sylvan Advocate.
Yeah, but the Sylvan Advocate is now going to grow into... Sorry, the Tireless Tracker is now going to grow even larger because of the clues, so it's going to be out of range quickly.
I agree. Tricky spot. And Reid's hand just doesn't give him a lot of options. His hand just is ramp and graveyard fill. 2 Vessels, 2 Nissa's Pilgrimages.
So Dragonlord Atarka is what he finds here from this Vessel of Nascency. However, Dragonlord Atarka against Selfless Spirit.
You killed the Selfless Spirit?
So Nissa's Pilgrimage for Reid, and he will be able to cast at Atarka next turn. It is a very good blocker.
This is 9 damage Luis has to attack with right now. and that's a Lumbering Falls.
Yeah, he has the Lumbering Falls there.
So a land from Luis would turn on the Sylvan Advocate and make the Lumbering Falls bigger. Reid is basically setting up, crossing his fingers, hoping he'll survive until next turn. But he's dead to a land.
All right, so big draw step here for Luis. Oh my gosh,
There
he
it
just
is.
snap plays the land. Animate Lumbering Falls in with a team.
It's 5, 9, 11.
Reid just doing the math real quick.
Yep.
And he says, that's enough.
Wow.
Scott-Vargas up 2-0 in the quarterfinals here at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. That was another quick one, and now we're going to sideboard games
This
where
deck looks so amazing in Luis's hands.
It does.
He keeps winning these games. He makes it look easy. You have to be really good at Magic to make it look that easy.
we will be back to Luis's and Reid's match, but first we have to see what happens between Yuta Takahashi and Owen Turtenwald.
So it looks like they've started their game 3.
They've already started their game, indeed. So, Randy, the players at this point have access to the sideboards.
Yes.
So taking a look at these players' sideboards, it looks like the sentiment that a lot of the people that play Bant have is that it gets significantly better for them post-board. That said, these players have been, specifically, you know, Owen and all the people who have brought the Emrakul style decks, they knew about Bant Company. It
Right.
was a deck to beat. So how much of them, how much do you think the matchup changes when they actually go post-board, since Owen presumably and all of Pantheon have built this deck with Collected Mind and Company?
Yeah, I think it's really a question of what Yuta can do to improve his chances. Like, Owen was set up to play against Bant Company. Bant Company decks tend to be set up to play against, well, other Bant Company decks is really their enemy number one with their main decks. That usually means Dromoka's Command comes out. Yuta does not have access to the card Luis has deployed so well out of his own sideboard, Tamio Field Researcher. Yuta has a full set of 4 negates if he wants to go that way. I don't know precisely how Yuta's going to sideboard here. I mean, negate's useful against some of the stuff Owen is up to, but not all of it.
So it looks like Yuta's going to Collected Company here at the end of the turn and see what he finds. It's a Jace Vryn's Prodigy.
I think I saw Lambhold Pacifist go
Yeah.
by. So it sounds like Yuta's sideboard plan for this matchup is just to be even more aggressive. I like that plan. It makes a lot of sense. You cannot win the late game, so just maximize your chances of winning the early game with another, another cheap, powerful beater like Lambhold Pacifist.
So the player's taking count here of what's going on in Owen's graveyard. The Narwhal Dryad is a very good blocker here for Owen, though. Looks like Delirium is online, so it is a 3/3 blocker at this point. Ooh, and if Delirium is online, here comes Spider Babies. All right, so Owen's sitting very comfortably behind this wall of creatures.
Yeah, again, 18 life left. He's stabilized the board. He's not really taking damage. Great spot for our new player of the year.
So looting with Jace, deciding how he wants to sculpt this turn. So he's deciding, it seems like he's not interested in this Reflector Mage. Doesn't have a lot of impact on this board. Jace does transform. Two mana for, Declaration in Stone?
All right.
That's a clean way to deal with those spiders. Just stone them to death.
Sure.
As you would to any other spiders you see. He's going to pass back to Owen, and he's left up 4 mana, so Owen can pretty much know what to expect here. Oh, but it looks like he actually has Ojutai's Command and Summary of Dismissal in hand.
See the nice thing about Ojutai's Command in these decks? It looks like he's left up Collected Company mana, but it's actually Ojutai's Command mana.
And against these company decks, too, you never know when it's Spell Queller. The Spell Queller has much less impact against Owen than it does against other decks in the field. Oh, Emrakul the Promised End from Owen.
We're going to see the same thing we saw last game.
Yep. So that's a summary of dismissal, countering the Emrakul, exiling it too. But the cast trigger still has happened. Norwood tried attacking. So the nice thing about Summary of Dismissal is that he can exile all other spells and counter all abilities. So actually, there's not going to be a turn being taken here from Owen. Summary of Dismissal is great sideboard tech against Emrakul.
That is nice. Only the one in Yuta sideboard, but this is why he put it there. Exiling spells and countering all abilities. More Eldritch Moon tech.
It is cool to see how players have approached managing Emrakul in all these games. Like Coax from the Blind Eternities is another way to deal against discard decks and waste, infinite obliteration, getting your Emrakuls into exile. You just buy it back. It's a nice insurance policy.
It's kind of a flavor win, too, that Emrakul has just warped the metagame. All around the edges, things don't quite work the way you expect them to. Owen playing Coax from the Blind Eternities just to get Emrakul back from exile. Summary Dismissal showing up in Band Company sideboards. That seems like a card that should start showing up more and more. The ability to actually cleanly counter Emrakul and her effect. It's pretty nice.
All right, so Norwood Dryad and that Sylvan Advocate battle each other out and then down go to the graveyard. And now things aren't looking so hot for Owen anymore. That Ishkana by itself. And Yuya has drawn an Ojutai's command too, so even if he manages to find a second Emrakul, we'll be able to take the turn, but won't be able to keep it.
I do have the full sideboarding information, by the way, just get delivered in. Yuta took out the Forger Mocha's commands like we expected. Also took out one Duskwatch Recruiter. What he brought in was 3 negates, the Summary Dismissal, and a Declaration in Stone.
Declaration in Stone is great against Ishkana. That is good sideboard tech.
Yeah,
As is the Summary Dismissal.
He's drawn both the 1-ofs this game.
They're
Like,
very
we thought
good.
Owen was in a great spot, but the 2 1-of cards out of the sideboard have gotten Yuta right back into this thing. Owen only changed 2 cards, by the way. -1 Chandra, -1 Gather the Pack. In their place, he has 2 copies of Dispel.
So in come both creatures. Owen taking a look at what's going on in Yuta's graveyard. But he is starting to ping down with that Spell Queller. Now it looks like Owen has found another Vessel of Nascency, so presumably this can find him another Emrakul or another significant creature. Down goes the Norwood Dryad. Spell Queller is going to take care of it. Vessel of Nascency, this one sticks around.
Yeah, Owen looks across, waiting. May I have this, please? Yes.
Oh, there's an Emrakul. Land, and another Vessel of Nascency. But we know that Yuta has the insurance policy. He does have Ojutai's command. Still counting.
It's no Summary Dismissal, though.
It's no Summary Dismissal, but it's, not dealing with a 13-13 flying trample on the board. I would consider that a victory.
Fair.
So Yuta has to plan around here knowing that Owen will be able to take a turn here, even if he doesn't get to keep the Emrakul. He looks like he has a company in hand as well, so he can rep both. Though he is going to have to be very careful about this Emrakul here.
The die represents the number of different card types in Owen's graveyard. You're just keeping track of how much Emrakul will cost.
And Takahashi in hand with a Reflector Mage, Collected Company, and Ojutai's command. Sculpting out his turn here. He does have access to his graveyard as well because of Jace, so he wants to make sure that Jace doesn't die to Ishkana, though Ishkana is not in a position to be attacking here either.
Jace shrinks Ishkana.
And in come all the creatures, so Ishkana gets in front of the biggest one, Krallenhorde Howler. He's going to have to take 4 damage from here, and he just straight up passes the turn.
He's sitting at what, 7 mana?
Yeah. And if you're Owen, this just, you know, this is fishy. Tank, 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 pass the turn. So Owen's going to have to consider what he wants to do here, knowing that this Emrakul very, very well may be countered here.
Combat. Sure.
All right, so in comes Ishkana. It does attack the Jace, and it's down to 3 now. It's shrunken too, so he doesn't get to ping it for that much.
3's enough that Owen can have it commit suicide when he controls Yuta's turn, though.
So Emrakul happens. They're counting up the number of different cards in the graveyard.
And then this one on the stack. Do you have any effects?
There's a Kozilek's Return in the graveyard. There you go. So it is flashed. Yes.
Such a good turn. Kozilek's Return gets flashed back, wiping out Takahashi's board. Spellqueller gives back the Gnarlwood Dryad as a result.
And Yuta is going to counter this. However, he has no board anymore.
Right, and he's not going to have control of his next turn.
He's choosing to return that Sylvan Advocate with the second ability on Ojutai's command. Though, presumably, it's just going to be attacking into this Gnarlwood Dryad. And a Pilgrim's Eye for Owen ends his turn.
Kozilek's Return does so much work in this deck.
Yeah, he continues to put himself in these situations where it looks like he's about to die, and then just flashback Kozilek's Return. Oh, we're back in the game. It's all good. All under control. All right, so a little bit of shuffling. He has his land. Things suddenly, they turned around in a pinch here for Yuta. And that's an amazing thing about Emrakul, Randy. We keep seeing these games where it looks like, well, there's nothing going on, nothing's happening. Oh, Emrakul? All right, we're back in the game. All right,
Yeah,
so
it doesn't matter how wide the Band Company deck goes either. That Kozilek's Return is always going to
just,
clean it
yeah,
up.
absolutely.
So I'm pretty sure Yuta is going to whiff on that Collected Company. Owen has to decide. I'm pretty sure Jace is going to give flashback to something and then forget to cast it. What else can Owen
All
do?
these creatures that suddenly become so confused.
Exactly. I mean, Owen can have Reflector Mage.
All right, so there's the company. Owen's still going to take a look.
Well, he's got
Oh,
a
man, and we
Swordman.
found such sweet ones, too. Spell Queller, 2 Reflector Mages, a Tireless Tracker. See, these creatures are cowards. Down they go.
Minus on that, yeah.
All right, so he is going to... Down goes that Jace as well. And now left with a Mere Sylvan Advocate and a Reflector Mage. That was a fantastic turn for Owen, although technically it was Yuta's turn. All right, so Sylvan Advocate land. And now Yuta has no way to deal with his Emrakul. Well, Emrakul's gone, I guess, but he just will generally have to deal with Owen being able to buy back all these Emrakuls. He doesn't have a way to do it in hand right now.
Yeah, Yuta basically needs Owen to draw bricks for several turns in a row. Given how many lands Owen has been taking out of his deck with his various ramp spells.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's he has
Not
so
even
many
that many-
more than just the 4. You know, how many Emrakuls does he have in his deck?
I
He
believe
has,
it's 3.
but he has so many more copies of it in
Right,
theory.
right.
That's the problem. between Gather the Pack, Grapple with the Past, Vessel of Nascency, it's so easy for him to find it. And then even if he finds something like Chandra Flamecaller, like that's terrible for him. All right, so second Sylvan Advocate. These are good attackers, but not very good against Gnarlwood Dryad. Owen is kind of breaking here, though. And this is Pilgrimage and Game Trail in hand.
Go. Yep.
What a crazy game.
Yeah, this is... It's been so swingy. It seems
It
like...
really has.
Yeah.
Owen had control of the game. Yuta came back, helped by a couple sideboard cards. Owen is now forced to trade with Gnarlwood Dryad for one Sylvan Advocate. Reflector Mage has put Owen's back up against the wall.
Oh, snap. Did you see what he just drew?
No,
It's
what'd
a
he draw?
grapple with a past.
All
Womp
right.
womp.
Nice.
Yeah,
You
even
hear the
Yuta can
players-
appreciate a good top deck.
The player's chuckling a bit, and yes. Owen snaps off that Emrakul, casts it immediately.
Go.
This time the 13-13 part makes it into play. It's the third Emrakul.
Yeah, how many Emrakuls can you possibly try to fight against?
I'll actually look this
Looks like is the third one gonna get him finally?
Or actually, no.
It's the first time the 13-13 is resolved, but the third time Owen has gone for it.
I'll go. I'll attack. Yeah. Attack.
Yeah, so some bad attacks happen here.
Tyler's Tracker is the creature Owen chose to have run itself into Emrakul.
It was a brave tracker. It's not smart, but it's brave.
Tireless.
I love seeing when the players are also having clearly a good time. You know, this is a really high stakes match,
Oh yeah.
and it's lovely to see players have this great banter and back and forth while they're down in the feature match.
Go.
So Jace, Rinse Prodigy is a draw for Utah. And currently it was just the Lumbering Falls in hand, which he is going to play. No cards in hand, and no way to deal with that Emrakul. On top for Owen.
18 life though. And Owen's down to 8.
Yeah, and Owen doesn't have anything significant in hand anymore. He has that one Gnarlwood Dryad, but you don't need a lot when you have a 13-13 in play.
Can Owen attack here? I mean, the Sylvan Advocate pumping up the Lumbering Falls does give Yuta lethal offense. Guess Pilgrim's Eye and Gnarlwood Dryad gives him 2 blockers. He is going to attack with the 13-13.
He could also put himself in a bad position with, depending on what's in Utah's graveyard.
Right. Yuta gets...
Yeah, he
Gets
decides
to
not
use
to attack
Jace.
here, yeah. Oh, no, he does attack.
Yeah, he attacks with
Just
the
with the
13-13.
Emrakul, yeah.
He's got 2 blockers.
Let's see what's in the graveyard.
Flashback
So it's a collected company.
I mean, if this is a pair of Reflector Mages, I think Yuta steals it.
It looks like you found a Spell Queller and a Negate is currently what's in hand. All right, so Lumbering Falls here is animating.
Yeah, Yuta he's in the middle of resolving the loot from Jace Vryn's Prodigy. He knows it's going to flip into Telepath Unbound. He's pulled out the Collected Company, which he knows his plan is to flash back.
He decides Spell Queller isn't good enough here, yeah.
Yeah, he basically needs... He's dead to Emrakul next turn. Yuta Takahashi needs to get through 8 points of damage. He's got a Sylvan Advocate, a Reflector Mage, and a Lumbering Falls. But Owen has 2 blockers. What is Collected Company going to find? 1 Reflector Mage.
Sylvan Advocate.
Is that good enough?
Well, he bounces. Right, so yeah, so he's lining up what's going to happen here. And still deciding what he wants to take from this collected company. Man, this is a scary turn for Owen too, because he knows as soon as he gets to untap, he can just kill him. So he's still lining up possible blocks here.
Yeah, Pilgrim's Eye's
Wow,
gonna
what a
block Sylvan
nerve-wracking
Advocate.
turn.
Reflector Mage.
Well, if he can't kill him here, he'll be forced to have to bounce that Emrakul.
True.
The question is, can he find a way to squeeze in enough damage here and actually take down the game?
Second Sylvan Advocate can make the Lumbering Falls gigantic. But Owen is still going to have a blocker.
Yeah, so second Sylvan Advocate is the other choice.
He
Yeah,
has
so
to
he
bounce
has.
the Emrakul.
He is choosing to bounce that Emrakul. He's still deciding here how he wants to attack. He just tries to. He's trying to get Owen into a position where he could hopefully survive through one more Emrakul. What is this? The fourth Emrakul?
Well, Owen can't replay it next turn because of
Yeah.
the Reflector Mage ability. So yeah, here's a massive attack. Owen with 8 points of life. So he can, in theory, take a little bit of damage here. Lumbering Falls.
He's got to be worried about how much damage he takes here,
Yeah,
though. He's got Anissa's Pilgrimage in hand, so he doesn't have
Right.
a lot of defenses left back.
The Lumbering Falls is 7/7 thanks to the 2 advocates. That one's going to get blocked. And then it's a question from Owen as what does he want? Okay, he's going to eat the Reflector Mage. No, he's going to change his mind. He's going to chump trade. So Gnarlwood's Death Touch takes down the Lumbering Falls. He chumps the 4-power
Oh.
Sylvan Advocate, takes 2 down to 6.
That was a huge draw. Owen just drew an Elder Deep Fiend.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Go.
Yeah, so he's just gonna pass back. Let's see what Owen wants to do. Maybe he wants to do something. He might do it before combat. Yeah, so he's definitely drunk. here he is.
Man, Yuta's ability to appreciate Owen's top decks is kind of crazy.
It is.
I don't know that
Hats off to him, seriously.
seriously.
Because that was an amazing top deck.
Yuta's had this game won twice and lost 3 times. Was about to win it again through an Emrakul, but Owen top decked Elder Deep Fiend. Now he can replay the Emrakul.
And he also found a grapple with a pass, so he can start buying back stuff from his graveyard too.
So we should be done finally, right?
I think so.
Owen's finally got this? I think?
The player's laughing a little bit about it. Wow.
Owen basically
Well,
had to top deck twice, right?
He did.
Yuta had him in check, shall we say. Owen top decked the grapple for the Emrakul. And then Yuta had him in trouble again with that Collected Company hitting just enough.
Yeah, so Owen counting up, and there comes Emrakul again.
So number 4.
4, yes.
4th time's the charm?
This has to be a record for number of Emrakuls fought on camera, at least.
It's
There's
gotta
no,
be.
there's no way it's higher than this right now.
It's only the second 13-13, but the 4th cast trigger to go on the stack.
So grapple the past here from Owen.
Oh, gets negated.
Gets negated. He's just going to pass back. All right, so this is technically Owen's turn to control.
I have a feeling Yuta's about to make a really bad attack. And once again, Jace just keeps forgetting to cast the things
So
that get
confused,
flashed
this
back.
Jace. This is no prodigy. He's really bad at magic. Look at this.
Both Sylvan Advocates die in the attack. And yeah,
And
Yuta
that's-
finally
God, what a
succumbs.
crazy game.
Emrakul number 4. Look at that smile. That's awesome.
Wow, you got to feel good about putting up that fight, though. That was amazing.
That was a great game.
Great match from both these players. So we're going to hold that match for you, everyone at home, and we're going to move back over to Reid versus Luis.
Luis is up 2-0.
He could make this a quick quarterfinals. If he wins the next one, he's just done.
True story. I do have sideboarding information. This is the first sideboarded game these two have played.
Do
Luis
tell.
took out 4 Dromoka's commands, took out 1 Jace, took out 1 Avacyn. In their place, he has 2 copies of Clash of Wills, 2 Ojutai's Command, a Tireless Tracker, and a Subjugator Angel.
Oh, that technology!
It's in there for the mirror. The 1 Subjugator Angel is the way that Gentle Fireball decided to fight the Bant Mirror, but he's bringing it in here.
Yeah, when they were testing the Bant Mirror, they kept saying, Archangel Avacyn's really good. You end up fighting with Archangel Avacyn. But if you have a Subjugator Angel, the boards get so clogged, eventually you get to a point where you just tap their whole team, kill them in one shot. So funny to see that Subjugator Angel is making another presence here.
Interestingly, by the way, that means that Luis did not bring in Tameo.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Reid's Emrakul deck, I guess, plays out differently than some of the more common green-black versions. And yeah, Luis's Tameos are still on the board.
Clash of Wills seems very nice here, too.
Right,
The
yeah,
Dromoka's command get out and they don't do anything. Yeah.
He's
Jace
gone
and
way up
Avacyn don't do
on
anything
permission.
either. Very neat.
Reid's sideboarding plan, by the way, -1 Nissa, -1 Dragonlord of Tarka, -2 Hedron Callers, -2 Gather the Pack. Out goes a Sylvan Advocate, out goes an Ulvenwald Hydra. So 8 cards, Reid using over half his sideboard for this game. Bringing in an additional Kozilek's Return, a Roast, a Fiery Impulse, 3 Rending Volleys, and 2 Tireless Trackers.
Oh, it seems like Reid gets pretty good post board.
He wants to be
He
able to
gets so
kill
much
creatures.
removal, yeah.
Right. He wants to survive to the late game, so instant speed, cheap removal spells is the name of the game for him.
And for those who are curious about what Subjugator Angel does, it's a 6-mana 4/3 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, it taps all creatures your opponents control. So pretty good effect, especially if Reid is trying to go wide and not let Luis attack. He can just kind of one-shot tap everything down and get in there for the kill. There we see Subjugator Angel on the side. Really good uncommon. A great draft pick, too.
Oh, yeah.
So Hedron Archive here from Reid. Going to go ahead and crack that clue, put a counter on it to draw a card. And see a pass back to Luis. Reflector Mage is the draw. In his hand, he has a couple of collected companies, a Clash of Wills, and an Archangel Avacyn. Collected companies are going to start doing some serious work for him here. Duskwatch Recruiter. No spells were cast. It will transform.
Luis has left up collected company, Clash of Wills.
Yeah.
That's all. No interest in using his mana for the Duskwatch Recruiter.
So Reid, considering his options here, he does have that Ishkana, and Delirium is online at this point, so he will be able to get a couple spiders out of that. Traverse Ulvenwalds are also online. He can get whatever he wants. Kozilek's Return and Game Trail. So Kozilek's Return here could potentially be big game, depending on what Luis hits from that collected company as well. Looks like Game Trail coming in tapped. Get another clue from the Tireless Tracker. So there comes Ishkana. Let's see what Luis has to say about this.
Yeah, Luis has to decide if he wants to use Clash of Wills to guaranteed deal with the Ishkana, or whether he wants to collect a company's response. And
Decides
he's
he has
decided
no
for
interest in
Clash.
it.
No spider, no baby spiders.
Clash of Wills, the less commonly known brand of spider repellent, apparently. Away goes that spider. No spiders here. So, traverse the Ulvenwald. Reid going on a little trip here. Let's see what he finds. Emrakul, the Promised End.
Somehow it's always Emrakul hiding at the other side of the Ulvenwald.
You just take a nice, lovely stroll through Ulvenwald, and surprise, it was Emrakul. Duskwatch Recruiter transforms back. Let me see, a pass back to Luis. All right, so Yavimaya Coast is the land for Luis's turn. He does have the choice of Archangel Abyss in this turn if he wants, but he also has those collected companies, and now he's out of counter magic as well, though he has drawn the Reflector Mage.
It's a pretty stacked hand for Luis. But it's the point of the game where Reid's deck just has more powerful stuff. Luis is going to go ahead and main phase
that
Collected Company.
Yeah. So Reflector Mage and Spell Queller. So he gets to reset the Tireless Tracker. That is nice. The Spell
Yeah,
Queller.
he clears a path for an attack is I think what his Reflector Mage to clear that path is exactly what Luis was looking for. You see him very quickly move into attack. That was the way he drew it up.
And now he has to be careful because knowing that Reid does have that Emrakul in hand, it's just a matter of time until it comes out. So Reid now has to set up for a couple of turns where he's able to survive against Luis and also set up to get to his big game.
Do we know how many card types are in Reid's yard?
We know that he has Delirium, so at least
4.
that many.
It's not 6 though, right?
We'll see if one of our sideline reporters can get this back to us.
'Cause, I mean, Reid with the Hedron Archive has 7 mana. Could hypothetically cast. It's 5 types, so he's 1 mana short of Emrakul. And does he have a land in his hand? He does, I think, have a forest in his hand.
All right, so traverse the Ulvenwald once more.
Dragon Lord Atarka.
And Luis does not have a Selfless Spirit here, so Dragon Lord Attacker
No.
looking quite better than a couple games ago.
So I think Reid actually had the option to play Emrakul. He could have gone land into Emrakul, but he decides he'd rather go traverse for Atarka and then follow up next turn with the Emrakul.
And Luis can't do anything about it that turn, so he stops himself from, Luis having an option to collect the company, maybe find a Selfless Spirit.
Right. Yeah, good point.
All right, so after that Atarka, he's going to pass it back to Luis. He's going to main phase that company again.
Does
There's
hit
a Reflector Mage and Sylvan Advocate. He's going to bounce the Dragon Lord Atarka, so...
Yep. This lets him attack for still 4, right? In his 6th land?
So that does drop
Or
Reid
6. 3 attackers.
down a 10. But he knows that on Reid's hand is just absolutely stacked. There's a
Oh no,
Emrakul.
you can't play Dragon Lord Atarka this turn. All right,
Well,
fine.
set
I'll
up
play
for
my
Emrakul.
even bigger Flying Trampler.
Between the Kozilek's Return, the Atarka, 2 Tireless Trackers, Emrakul, the Promised End, and a Forest. His hand is just absolutely stacked. Right. This is a lot of mana. Ba-boom! Emrakul, the Promised End, pass the turn, and now this is Reid controlling Luis's turn.
Okay, draw.
Looks like the draw for the turn is a Spell Queller. So Reid considering all the options here. How much can he mess with Luis's turn?
He can make the Avacyn flip. Does that do anything?
No Sylvan Advocate, no! It had a family!
You take 1.
So he's forcing Luis to take 1, tap 4, collected company. Oh, there goes that Selfless Spirit.
he sees the Subjugator Angel.
Oh, you're right.
Some useful knowledge for the next couple games.
Yeah. And the players do know deck lists, so
Yeah.
he could think that he's brought Subjugator Angel, but this is just... take a
See
look.
the smile.
You see the smile.
Yeah, I think Luis was thinking Subjugator Angel's the kind of card he could just get Reid with, that Reid would not be expecting it. In fact, it may be that with that value gone, you might see Luis sideboard it out
Yeah.
for game 4
And that's when you get into the cool thing where you start next leveling
yeah.
each other. Like, well, now he knows that I'm bringing the Subjugator Angel, so I don't bring it, and then he
Right,
plays around it. Not that you can play around it very well anyway. Looks like that might be it for Luis's Emrakul turn. Yeah, so it looks like all the
Sometimes you
creatures
got-
are getting in.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to Reflector Mage the Emrakul. Luis has got a very short window here, but he's going to try to sneak through it.
Well, Reid is at 4, so
Right.
let's see if he can squeeze in enough damage.
Cannot replay Emrakul this turn, but he can replay Dragon Lord
Lord
Atarka.
Atarka. Mm-hmm.
Spell Queller is up. Avacyn can be played next turn. Oh, Rending Volley's a nice draw.
Is that what he drew?
Is there a second red buried in that mana base? Okay, Atarka and... Yeah, I think so. That's a game trail, right? Yeah. So he can play Rending Volley and Dragon Lord Atarka. Although he knows about the Spell Queller, so he knows the Rending Volley is unlikely to resolve. Wow, can Luis sneak through 4 damage next turn?
I don't know. It's going to be very close.
3 toughness, 3 toughness, 3 toughness, 3 toughness.
When your turns continue to be, okay, it's either Dragon Lord Atarka or Emrakul this turn, it's hard to sneak all this damage in, but...
What is Reid supposed to do here? He's facing, if you count the Spell Queller that Luis can play end step, even if there's no target, he's facing 5 creatures, all of whom are 2/3s. Dragon Lord Atarka does not match up great against 5 2/3s. Reid sees it. He's just going to crack a clue because he needs help.
That was a fiery impulse, but that Spell Queller also threatening the same thing as the...
I mean, Reid has to somehow flash back a Kozilek's return, and I don't know how he does that here. There's no Kozilek's return in his yard. It's still in his hand, right?
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and cast that Tireless Tracker.
He's trying to bait Luis into using his Spell Queller.
And these are some of the situations that Luis is really good in. When you talk to, you see his reasoning for when to counter things and when not to counter things.
All right, he is going to use the Spell Queller.
Yeah.
So Reid has turned on his Rending Volley, which can effectively get the Tireless Tracker out from under a Spell Queller. But is that good enough?
So we'll see. We're going to start off. There's Fiery Impulse. Come back, Tireless Tracker.
Luis is currently attacking for 6.
Yeah, and Rending Volley takes care of the second Spell Queller.
Luis looks like he's attacking for
Attacking.
4. Reid's at 4.
And there's the hand.
Luis
Wow.
beat Emrakul again.
That was impressive. 3-0. He takes the match.
Unbelievable.
That
Luis
was unreal.
Scott-Vargas, ladies and gentlemen. One of the best to ever shuffle him up.
Yeah, and
And he's into the
congratulations
semis.
to Reid for an amazing run. That was great, but guess he came ready. He came prepared for Emrakul, huh?
Wow.
Didn't even need that Subjugator Angel. That was great. We see a handshake there. Going back to our back table now. This is Owen Turtenwald versus Yuta Takahashi.
Game 4 here. No sideboarding changes for this game.
So Gnarlwood Dryad is a start for Owen. And just to recap for anybody who maybe didn't hear the first sideboard changes.
Takahashi took out his Dromoka's Commands and a Duskwatch Recruiter for 3 negates, a Stunning Dismissal, and a Declaration in Stone. Summary Dismissal, sorry. Summary Dismissal, which we saw him use to great effect.
So he must feel
Wasn't
pretty...
quite enough. It is Turtenwald, you see, that is up
Yeah.
to 2 games to 1. It took 4 copies of Emrakul in that game 3, but Owen did finally get the job done.
No, that was a nuts game.
Owen sideboard, by the way, 2 Dispels in, 1 Chandra, 1 Gather the Pack out.
All right, so both players off to a pretty good start here. Though that Reflector Mage is nice for Yuta here. The Gnarlwood Dryad. Gnarlwood Dryad is a real team player in Owen's deck. It seems to be. It does a
Takes
great.
a lot for the team.
Yeah, he takes a lot for the team. He does a great job at just making sure that Owen gets to stick around for the later turns. Okay, milling that Kozilek's return is pretty
Yeah,
nice.
indeed.
Finding that Emrakul is as well.
Owen now 1 game away from setting up a semifinal date with Luis Scott-Vargas.
Yeah, that's going to be...
How would that be?
That would be sick. All right, so in come both creatures. And yeah, Yuta is putting on good pressure here. He has to finish this game quickly. Tireless Tracker, land. Clue, go.
And we also mentioned this earlier, but Yuta Takahashi is the only guy on this half of the bracket who does not currently have an invitation to the World Championships in a couple of weeks at PAX.
Talk about a high-stakes match.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
already a high-stakes match.
Exactly,
Players are playing for $40,000.
No, let's throw Worlds in addition. I'm
And
sure
Worlds in addition.
somewhere Roichi Tomada is watching this and sweating because he's the one that loses the invite if Takahashi makes the final. So Tomada definitely on Team Turtenwald right now.
All right, so Narwood Dryad coming back down for Owen. And that Pilgrim's Eye getting another land for him as well. All right, so we're going to see a non-tap from Yuta. Another Reflector Mage. These Reflector Mages are hard at work, though. They won't be bouncing Emrakuls if they continue to be cast at this point in the game. He's going to crack a clue, draw a land. He has a land. All right, perfect. Get another clue. Reflector Mage, bye-bye, Norwood Dryad, in with the team. This game might be over very quickly, Randy.
This is how Bant Company wins.
Bant him out. Doesn't have the same ring as Jund him out.
Luis is trying to make Bantam out happen, though.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely is. He is making it happen, considering he's in the semifinals of the Pro Tour. All right, so Kozilek's return. That Wretched Griff came right on time.
Go.
All right, triple Narwood Dryad.
Yep.
You can break.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Reflector Mage was last turn, so.
That's really bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's going to take them a little bit longer before they actually come out.
Yep.
Instead, Owen's going to opt for a Vessel of Nascency and a pass back to Yuta.
Yep.
All right, so just Sylvan Advocate and... Owen considering his options here. He actually has a pretty stacked hand. He's got that triple Narwood Dryad, Emrakul the Promised, and a Dispel. So he has chosen that Pilgrim's Eye. And at a mere 6 life, but not facing a lot of pressure anymore. Pilgrim's Eye is going to get another land for Owen.
Yeah, Kozilek's return. Once again, doing work. Six different card types in Owen's graveyard.
Yeah, so you're getting slowly creeping up to that Emrakul.
If by slowly you mean next turn.
All right, so Narwood Dryad can come out this turn. It's a big Dryad too. It's going to be a 3/3.
Yeah, and he goes ahead and plays the other two Gnarlroad Dryads as well.
Owen could potentially beat down this game. It's not what his deck wants to do,
Who
but
needs Emrakul?
yeah. All right, so Nissa for Yuta. Getting him that forest.
Nor will try out a bit of a nimble mongoose throwback. Got wild mongrels and nimble mongooses in this set.
All right, and so this land is going to cost that Nissa to transform. And how is Yuta going to get through all these Gnarlwood Dryads? This is going to be a challenge. Starts with a Reflector Mage bouncing one of them.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I don't think he is. I think Owen is going to get himself to the semifinal. He has the option to play Emrakul this turn, or he can figure out if he can do better than that.
It's actually really cool watching Owen take the Emrakul turns. I was spotting him in the feature match yesterday, and you can see he just tanks for a second. He's like looking at all the options, and then he goes, all right, bam, 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 bam. He just wrecks the board as soon as he's done. It's great. All right, so Emrakul the Promised End, untap from Yuta. Let's see what you can do, Owen. Yeah, so a bunch of very, very bad attacks here. Looks like not a lot. Yeah, not a lot more is going to happen this turn, though.
Oh, what's Yuta's life total?
Oh, too spooky. Oh my god, this is so great. And to our knowledge, he is going to die exactly on 13 here.
It's been a great run for Yuta.
Yeah.
It's been great watching him play, too. It's clearly
Wow. That too spooky win. 13-13 coming in, dropping Yuta down to 0. Turtenwald goes on to the semifinals.
Yeah.
What an amazing run from Owen. He gave us
Absolutely.
all a sweat yesterday, too, as he was having an incredible run in this tournament. And then...
Yep. Right at the ship,
so it was
just
like
in time.
8?
From he was 11-1, and then suddenly he was 11-4.
Yeah.
4 straight win-and-ins, and he needed all 4 of them. Got there on the last one. Now took care of business in the quarterfinals. We're going to see Owen against Luis in the semis. But first, we got another couple quarterfinals to take care of.
We do. We have a couple quarterfinals. We have a lot more magic coming for you this way. Now let's send it over to Rich over at the news desk.
Too spooky. Thanks, Gabby. Thanks, Randy. That was a great call. Great stuff. And amazing magic, Brian David Marshall. It's like so many Emrakuls all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty crazy. In game 3 of that match for Owen Turtenwald, 3 Emrakuls was not enough. It looked like Takahashi was going to win that, but the 4th Emrakul managed to get it done. And then in that last game, Emrakul was able to, oh, conveniently, you're at 13 life. How lovely. Let me take care of you. And of course, Kozilek's Return, just such a brutal card when it gets played out of the graveyard against those Band Company decks.
For sure. So why don't we take a look at our bracket? If you're just joining us, because I know lots of you just getting up wherever you are in the world, welcome along. We are halfway through our quarterfinal program. There are the quarterfinals. Sam Pardy against Andrew Brown, Lucas Blahon against Ken Yukihiro. We began with the bottom half of the bracket first thing this morning, bright and early, and Luis Scott-Vargas with Band Company was up against Reid Duke. And BDM, Luis Scott-Vargas doesn't just advance, but advances with a sweep.
Yeah, 3-0 against Reid Duke. Game 1, Reflector Mage just did what Reflector Mage does. Bounced stuff, cleared the way, and he was able to go on this really kind of beat-down plan against Reid. In Game 2, a new card from Eldritch Moon really reared its head. And there's a few of them in Luis's sideboard, but it was Selfless Spirit that just made his team indestructible. And he was able to get that. And then Game 3, I don't understand, you know.
Are you stumbling over the words, he beat Emrakul?
Well, it's not just he beat Emrakul, right? There was a Dragon Lord of Tarka. It got played. It got bounced with Reflector Mage. Then came an Emrakul. And then you're like, okay, well, I guess we're going to see a game. Oh, no, we're not going to see a game 4. Luis Scott-Vargas is just going to win this. Just a tremendous stomping from Luis Scott-Vargas there in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, congratulations to Reid Duke, of course, on making his second Pro Tour top 8. Fantastic job by him. He was very emotional making the top 8. Someone who cares very, very deeply about our favourite game. So congratulations to him, but Luis Scott-Vargas advances to the semi-finals. Well, why don't we take a look at our bracket once again and show you what happened in our second quarterfinal, because that was between Yuta Takahashi, again on the same deck pretty much that Luis Scott-Vargas had, Bant Company, up against the Teamer Emerge list of Owen Turtenwald. Well, who advanced in that one? The answer to that is that it was Owen Turtenwald. And medium, this was 3-1, and we've been joined at the desk here by Randy Bueller, fresh from the booth. Worth pointing out that although it was 3-1, the one involved Owen playing pretty much zero Magic.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was just a mulligan, not a mulligan, but 2 lands, and stayed on 2 lands, and then just basically didn't do anything.
Yeah, one of the ones Owen did win, it took him 4 Emrakuls.
Right, so I mean, what is the line for how many Emrakuls you expect to have to utilize to win a game of Magic? Come on now.
I thought it was 1.
Oh, right, that's what I mean. That was the assumption coming into the tournament, right? You play it and that's the end. It's even in the card.
It's the promised
end. But Emrakuls are like fickle mistress, because she promises, she doesn't always deliver. And sometimes, she said, no, you need to send me out again and again. And there's counter and there's bounce. I mean, there's this kind of desperate tug of war of like, okay, I've got to Reflector Mage. Is it that time? It is that time where I'm going to Reflector Mage your Emrakul. Oh, good. Good. That's lovely. I mean, that was an amazing game of Magic.
Yeah, I was particularly impressed by Yuta Takahashi's just the presence, like the ability to enjoy the moment, the ability to, second top 8 for him, and he seemed super comfortable, and he got top decked in that game. He got top decked twice. There were 2 different turns where he passed, and if Owen doesn't draw a very relevant card, Yuta just wins. Owen did.
It was Elder Deep Fiend.
It was Elder Deep Fiend, and then it was Emrakul, and yeah. Yuta was able to laugh at that, knew he had just been top decked and was able to just kind of enjoy the moment. I was impressed.
Yeah, fantastic stuff.
Interesting card out of Yuta Takahashi's sideboard that we could see if you're looking for a weapon to fight Emrakul at FNM, or maybe the Grand Prix coming up next weekend. Summary Dismissal.
Completely agree.
Great looking card. Great against Elder Deep Fiend. Great against Emrakul.
Yeah, it's the only clean answer we've seen anybody have. Emrakul hit the stack, Cast Trigger hit the stack, all of it just went away.
Yeah, let's start over, shall we? I think that's something close to the flavor on that one. All right, so that is our first set of quarterfinals in the books. Let's take a look at our bracket, because in case you missed it, that means that Luis Scott-Vargas will be playing Owen Turtenwald, your new player of the year, in the semi-finals this afternoon. All around the world, Randy, millions of Magic fans are going, not going to get to bed till 5 in the morning then. All right, meanwhile, we've got a top half of the bracket to fill out. That's Sam Party against Andrew Brown and Lucas Blahan against Ken Yukihiro. So let's mark your card for what's going to happen here. And let's begin with your number 1 seed, Sam Party. There he is, he's on team face-to-face games. He's got a lot to smile about. 148 lifetime pro points, $40,000. He could just about double that today and more. This is his first Pro Tour top 8, which puts him in a class of unique in this top 8, because everyone else has done it before. He's a Platinum Pro and a couple of Grand Prix titles, very much known as a modern player, specialist, tremendous player of Constructed, and Limited was more than fine this time around. What did he play? Let's take a look at his deck list, and there you see it is Black Green Delirium. So Brian, what is this deck attempting to do? What is Black Green Delirium?
Well, I mean, it's attempting to end the game with Emrakul, but really it's looking to fill up card types in its graveyard, hold the board with Ishkana, the Graph Widow, hit early on with some creatures, and just ultimately take over the game with Liliana the Last Hope.
And Randy, it's not just Ishkana, it's Ishkana plus Spider Babies.
Yeah, and in this particular Delirium, don't sleep on Grimflayer. Sam has a very aggressive take on the Black-Green Delirium deck. We see the Pantheon builds are all about Emrakul, but face-to-face games had a tremendous Pro Tour all the way around, most of them on this particular deck. Grimflayer's ability to come down on turn 2, starts hitting, controlling your draw steps, becomes a 4-power creature very quickly. This deck has just been performing great, and it's sort of a long time coming for Sam. He sort of finally got this first Pro Tour top 8.
Wasn't Grimflayer the face-to-face games preview card?
Oh, is it really? That's awesome.
I actually
So
think it was.
they got brewing early.
Exactly.
I thought a big moment for Sam was once we got back into Constructed. Pretty sure round 12, doing this from memory, but I think he faced Owen in round 12 in the first round of Constructed on table 1, beat him.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really huge moment for him. Maybe a bit round 13, but that sort of cemented him as someone who wasn't just in contention for a top 8, but I'm not just at the top tables, I'm at the top table and I'm beating the best. I think that was a huge thing for Sam.
Although it was interesting when I talked to Sam, he said, I was like, wow, that's got to feel pretty. He's like, yeah, Owen and I have probably played each other on the Pro Tour and at the Grand Prix circuit more than we've played anyone else. And he's like, and we were just talking about it. He's like, I might have a slight edge against him, but it goes, we trade wins back and forth, it feels like.
They played 3 times on the Pro Tour this season.
Okay.
They had split the first 2, so Sam's up 2-1.
Yeah, and
Are
they
in
could.
opposite brackets?
They
Yes,
are in opposite brackets. That's absolutely true. All right, but first, facing Sam Party, we have Andrew Brown. Let's take a look at Andrew for you. Andrew from Team East West Bowl. Just an astonishing team performance yet again. 24 years old. You see $20,000, another $40,000 on the line here. 1 Grand Prix top 8, couple of Pro Tour top 8s now, a Platinum Pro, and BDM, when he got into the top 8 at 12-4, it wasn't the top 8 that he was caring about. It was that word platinum.
Yeah, well, he absolutely cared about the top 8, but was going to be very happy with his result no matter what, because he wanted to get to platinum. He wants to play Magic. He wants to make a go of, I'm going to be a professional Magic player next season. And, he's able to do that with those platinum benefits secured for all 4 Pro Tours next year.
Okay, so let's take a look at what Andrew Brown is bringing to the party. It is Teamer Emerge. Randy, what's going on with this deck?
Yeah, it's very similar to what we just saw Owen Turtenwald win with, in that you've got Kozilek's Return to sweep the board, you've got a bunch of Emerge creatures that can trigger it when they come into play. Andrew's deck is a little more all-in on the Emerge plan, though. You see Matter Reshaper as a thing that you really want to sacrifice. You see Primal Druid as a thing you want to sacrifice. Shaman of the Forgotten Ways is another card that we did not see in Owen's deck. So more emphasis on the Emerge, less emphasis on the Emrakul. In fact, there isn't an Emrakul in the main deck here. It's only hanging out in the sideboard.
Okay, so Sam Party against Andrew Brown is quarterfinal 3. Meanwhile, at the same time, and we'll bounce back and forth between the 2 quarterfinals, you'll see all the key action. You'll certainly see both matches won live on camera. Let's take a look at our bracket, and you will find our last quarterfinal is Lucas Blahon against Ken Yukihiro. Well, Lucas Blahon, let's take a look at him. He's from the Czech Republic, and he's been in an incredible race for the World Magic Cup captaincy up against Andrei Strasky. They came in tied. They went at it toe-to-toe. It was 9-3 against 8-4. It was 10-4 against 9-5. They were just constantly 1 win apart. But Lucas Blahon has secured that by making the top 8 here. It is his 2nd Pro Tour top 8, champion of a Grand Prix this season at Grand Prix Brussels, a Platinum Pro already. His deck, let's take a look. This is white-black control. BDM, nice to see some Planeswalkers up at the top there.
Yeah, absolutely. Liliana, the Last Hope, Obnixless, Reignited, Sorin Grim Nemesis. Interestingly, though, the main deck is not what Lucas Blahon's looking at in this matchup. Apparently, in testing last night with Martin Yuza, they actually predict that this match could very well go, if it goes according to playtesting, 0-2, 3-0 for Lucas.
Really?
Terrible pre-sideboarded, and just gets to bring in a dozen cards for games 3 through 5.
Oh, so watch out for that. That could go long then if they have predicted that right. But up against Lucas Blahon is Ken Yukihiro, who used every second of the last rounds to make it in. Let's take a look at Ken for you. He was ecstatic to make it into the top 8. He's 28 years old, $60,000 already. This is his 2nd Pro Tour Top 8 Silver Pro, the champion of Grand Prix Singapore. Reason he's smiling, he cheated death over and over and over. And he cheated time, which turns out to be even harder because he just extra turns to make it into the top 8. But brilliant job by him. What is his deck? It is red-green ramp. Let's take a look for you. And Randy, what is the red-green ramp trying to do? The clue is in the name.
Yes. He wants to accelerate to giant monsters. Ishkana, fully 3 copies. Emrakul, the Promised End, fully 3 copies. Isn't it great that we had more copies of those cards than we had Spellquellers in this top 8?
That's pretty great.
10 copies of Emrakul, 10 copies of Ishkana. Here you see 6 of those 20. That's the plan. I mean, it is sort of a more straightforward ramp deck than what Reid Duke was playing, but superficially kind of similar to the deck Reid Duke was playing. Again, there's that Kozilek's return that can sweep away whatever the opponent manages to put in play. Not as relevant in the matchup against Black-White Control, but still some giant monsters to ramp into.
Well, we've got 2 tremendous quarterfinals already done. 2 great ones await. Let's take you over to our arena of competition. It's time for the second set of quarterfinals here at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. Off you go.